Hi, casuals.
So we did these 3 already. We kind of already discussed the utility with Perne, and just to like real quick recap, I think his main claim to fame after he joins is like the 21x, the warp heist, where you give him the fire sword, you warp him in, you give him like a magic up maybe, you warp him into that little prison cell with the 3 warp priests and the 3 mages, you kill them all on enemy phase, you steal all the warp staffs and you rescue them out, and then there's probably like 1 or 2 things he can do outside of that, but there's not a whole lot. Like in casual playthroughs, I can think of some things he can do, like steal Timetamps, but in efficient playthrough, like both his combat utility and his thief utility just kind of fall off a cliff, I feel like, besides that.
Yeah, I guess here's a way that I would kind of describe these units who are currently in B tier, right? Because I could group them into little, like, utility buckets. So like Leaf and Nana are kind of one bucket where they're okay at combat, but they do a lot of support in a certain part of the game. Dean, we kind of already talked about. He's like mid-late game combat with an extra dose of utility, right? And I think Pan and Amalda kind of fall into that category too, where they're like, you know, filler combat unit, but there's something extra on top of that. And for Pan, he isn't exactly the best combat unit because his durability isn't amazing, but he does have a lot of good properties like the 5 fast follow-up critical modifier, and the fact that he can use like most swords that will allow him to abuse that. Plus, he has Soul, which kind of helps a little bit with his poor durability. Like he can actually fight if you really wanted him to, but he's not the best at it. And Amalda can fight, but her role is just sleep.
Yeah, I think Amalda is like different. She's only this low for me because of availability, because I think Amalda is like really good as a utility unit, like on a way different level than these at that. Maybe on the same level as like Leaf and Nana when they're still really good. But I feel like much better than like, for example, Perne as his utility. Dean's utility is still like kind of unique in a different way. But like Amalda's magic is really, really good with the fire sword.
It's really good with that fire sword combo, but again, the only thing that she could really do is sleep.
Yeah.
Because she only has C rank staffs, so she can't really do any of the fun, the other fun staff stuff, right?
She doesn't skip maps. Yeah, that's true. She does.
Yeah.
I guess sleep is definitely worse than warp in that way. That's true. It's just there's a couple maps where you need like both a lot, but there's not all of them.
And in my opinion, there was like only 1 map in which it was really all that helpful. Like Final.
Yeah, I was thinking of 24 personally, because there's a lot of demand for Silence and Sleep there, right? The bottom right Dark Mage room.
Oh yeah, you could, but at that point you also have like a zillion other staff users, and it's not like they're super busy on turn 1. Like in Final Chapter, you know, your staff users are busy doing all of the more important staffs on turn 1. So Amalda does have that role of, you know, holding a fire sword in one hand and the sleep in the other, and slamming something with 18 magic or more if she's gained anything. But in Chapter 24, like, it's not like you're doing a mad rush to the throne unless you're skipping 24x. But even then, unless you're LTCing, then you don't need to go for a mad rush to the throne either. So everyone's just like singing sleep, silence, thief, whatever on turn 1, and you don't necessarily need to have Amalda to do that.
Yeah, true. You can also use Blizzard in 24 to reach some of them, which is also increases more redundancy, because then you have Aspel and add to the mix.
Yes. So many strong tools.
Yes.
So I definitely think that Amalda is like the weakest of the 3 in terms of the extra utility. But then let me kind of go over to the other units. So Eyvel, Sed, and Saias all fall into the bucket of really good for a really limited number of chapters.
Yes. Which is, I think that's a unit type that I've overrated a lot in these tier lists in the past. Maybe not this one in particular, but a lot of the previous lists that we did was like, oh, this unit joins like 2 chapters before the game ends, but I still gave him like B or A tier for some reason.
So I think it's fine that they are all kind of close to each other in this tier, kind of like at the bottom edge of it. Ralph, I guess in one view you could say that he's kind of like Dean and Pan and Amalda, but in my opinion, he just doesn't have like that extra oomph to be in B tier. Like I would actually drop him top of C tier.
Yeah, it's just combat, right? It's nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment of him. He did stand out in combat for me my last playthrough, but again, negative growth kind of skews that, because normally, if you're actually training Dean, for example, he can actually get like better stats rather than worse stats is what he got from me. So the difference probably isn't as notable. And I think I do agree that Eyvel, Sid, and Saias are much more similar. Saias is like actually not that much combat oriented. He's just utility, I think.
Yes, I've never personally used Saias, but I've heard still from other more experienced players that he's pretty good. I just don't know exactly what's the best way to use him.
Yeah, I tried putting him up against like a Dark Mage in final with the Light Tome. That didn't go very well. He does have 18 magic, which is a pretty absurd number. I think that's what Amalda has at base with the Fire Sword.
Yes. Yeah, it's higher than Set too. Set has like 16 magic at base.
Yeah, but with Set, you just get combat and utility in one, so it's a different kind of deal. So you can like, because like in final you need two things really, basically, right? You need staff utility or someone a way to shut down the bosses, and you need a way to shut down the Dark Mages. And Set can do it in two ways, where Saias, if he's not doing a sleep, I guess he can just sleep a boss, but he probably isn't getting rid of a Dark Mage for you, where Set can do that.
And then lastly, Homer is really unique in the sense that in a totally efficient setting, like a totally LTC efficient setting, he's pretty much worthless, but he's really good in a casual setting or in like a little bit of a more lax setting. And I think Lolo put in a really good word for Homer, just because he's Aspel, but without all the availability.
That's fair. I was going to describe him like that because he doesn't have Draft Caliber. So I feel like that's a pretty defining feature of Aspel. Does that matter for like boss killing?
It does a little bit, but Homer also has 5 Pursuit Critical, right?
It's a lot. I just remember that.
Or a Follow-Up Critical modifier. Pursuit
FCM.
Critical just runs off the tongue so much easier, I gotta say.
PCC is what I used to say.
Yeah, gonna be a boomer in that respect.
Yeah. That's fair. I think while we're referencing Lolo's playthrough, I remember, I think it might be Peeved telling me about it, but I think Peeved or Lolo said like, okay, I was gonna use Homer as a backup for Asmo in case he died, but it turned out that it was better for reliability to just assume I was never gonna use Homer, and instead just makes Asbel unkillable. Just never, so I'd never have to put up with Homer.
Yeah, if you had a lot more EXP to go around, I suppose you could do that and make Homer good. But yeah, he has 5 follow-up critical modifier. It doesn't roll off the tongue. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Yeah, FCM. He has 5 FCM, which means that with the Light Tome, he's guaranteed to crit on the second hit if he doubles. But Light's kind of heavy.
I think that's
and with a Wind, he needs 10 skill, and he'll get 20 crit. And enemies have like barely any crit evade, so a little bit over 10 skill, which should be trivial with the promotion bonus, and he'll guarantee second hit crit with Wind as well.
Is he the one that can use Wind only after promotion, or is that unknown or something? There was something weird about that.
I think both he, Linoan, and Sarah can only use Wind after promo.
Okay, so it's just about his post-promo thing then. Because I was thinking in terms of like Chapter 14, because that's where you would get him most of the XP. I assume is just to kill Armor Knights with him, which I found a little bit troubling because he gets weighed down by lightning by 5, so you have to train him another tome, and even then, like, he can't use Wind. So it's kind of tough to actually double those Armor Knights reliably. He can also get killed if you're not careful. But it is a good chapter to get free XP.
It's not the easiest training arc for him. Like, it's not as easy as you think it would be, but with Paragon, he should be able to get to promo, and then you don't have to like cap out his level beforehand, right? It's not like it's gonna be
he just needs a Sage promo
giant
bonuses.
deal. Exactly. So even though his like off the cuff utility is worse than a lot of units in C tier, I do think that his unique niche in this regard is worth him being at the bottom of B tier.
Yeah, I can't say I can back this up with experience. I've only ever like scroll stacked Homer a lot, and I don't know whether he can actually reach the parameters he needs to do boss killing, because that's what we're doing it for, right? So he can kill bosses, and that seems like a tall order for someone that can only really train in Chapter 14. But I don't know how far Paragon and the 10 turns of Chapter 14 can take him.
I still feel like even after all that, he'll still be better at it than Fergus, just because of the properties of magic and FCM and crits and whatnot.
Oh yeah, I guess if you view it that way, like if he's just being compared to like people that are not Asbel, then yeah, obviously he's going to be much better than them. So that's fair, and it is something that not many people can do. Sure.
I feel like only really Marita can kind of hold a candle in that regard, and I don't actually know how good Marita is at boss killing in a reasonable context. Like I've
I think she
seen a
needs
lot of
Luda proc to do it well.
I've seen a lot of like fun casual, or not like casual, but kind of like those Japanese runner runs.
Yeah,
where...
look, those real-time runs, right? They speed run into Marita.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess she can work in that regard, but I just don't know reasonably if that's like representative of how she is or not. And Marita is much worse overall as a unit than Homer, because Homer at least moves around 7 move and 1/2 range, and Marita doesn't even have that.
Yeah. Well, Marita has 7 move after promotion, right? And then she can use the Wind Sword, so technically.
Well, she could, but I think she's not going to be like destroying enemies left and right with a Wind Sword.
No, probably not. Okay, that's fair. All right. I think I can deal with that on the basis that, like, I don't know for sure. So if you've ever used Homer in an efficient setting, contact me. We'll work out a deal. Okay, so I'm assuming that's it for B tier, right? Or does anyone even want to move up from C?
I don't think there's anyone in C that I would want to move up. I guess the only like thing I'll leave up to you in B tier is, do you still want to keep Amalda that high, or do you still want to drop her down? Because I feel like she should be lower than like said Saias.
Wait, who?
Because Amalda.
Oh, Amalda. Oh, I see where you're going with this. Yeah, because
like Set and Saias have a couple chapters less availability, but they're just way better in those chapters and do all the same things that Amalda is notable for doing.
Yeah, and like Amalda, we talked about her utility, and like we came to like that it's final and maybe 24, but those are chapters that Saias and Set are around for. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like things I did with Amalda before then, because in that place where I did some memeing around that I used Amalda for, but if you leave that out, I don't really know what Amalda did besides the things she did with that chapter. Yeah, I can get on board with moving her down as much as I like her utility. I think
she is notable for having one personal move. She and Conamore have one extra move compared to their class bases.
Yeah,
which is fun, I guess, but it's like whatever. It's like, you have 7 movement indoors and 10 movement outdoors. That's great.
I mean, Dean has a gazillion more move than most people, but I don't really care in most chapters that Amalda's around for. Like, yeah, no, I don't think that 1 point move is going to save her in this regard. Plus, I think Set has 1 more movement as well, I think, technically. Right? Doesn't he have 8?
Yeah, he has 8. Yeah. Saias maybe 2, but I've never used Saias, so I don't really remember. It's not like Saias really cares.
Yeah, the thing with Saias especially is he doesn't have to move. Like, I think Lolo, another fun example from her run, I think Tina got 2 movement level ups, and Lolo was like, well, I think the only time Tina moves is to escape from 21x. Everything else he just can't steal. So, yeah, movement doesn't really matter for those. Yeah, no, I think I'm pretty happy with B tier then if there's no one who's going to be moving up. I don't think I will move anyone down from here. Like, maybe Homer, but like I said, I'd rather keep him here, I think.
Maybe Galzus has an argument to move up from C tier, like to the bottom part of it. But it's also really hard to say. Yeah, I don't like him all that much. I feel like it's just like he does stuff in final if he can deploy him in the right place.
I mean...
And then he negates the need to use a blocky sword on Leaf to defeat, or like on Dermot to defeat Raedric.
Oh, for the OG, yeah, the original Raedric. Yeah.
But like, I don't know if anyone's come up with a better 24x strategy, but like I didn't need him 24x at all, and I don't really see why you would need him. So, like, I personally wouldn't move him up over C tier, but I think the efficiency Discord people thought a bit more highly of him. I don't know. I can't really think of a reason why. He does kill everything dead for like 1.5 chapters. That's basically it.
Yeah, I like the Raedric utility. It is the only one like moment, and if you're doing like a Fergus or you have to run, for example, you can use the Brachysword, right? So then you don't really care too much. You can kind of take your time with Raedric if you're doing the 24x unlocking.
Oh yeah, Fergus can use it. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And Dermot, I think, can do it too. I think he might need like 1 stat booster to do something. I don't remember. I think, didn't you give like Dermot a speed ring or something, a 0% growth, so he could do something?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of cringe. I think Nana, if you trained her, she can also do it. So it has some redundancy, but it's okay. And it's like 1 boss. And then 24x, even if he's like good in it, even if there's something you can do in it, it's pretty clear you can do it without him. So I don't really care about that part either. And then final just like, it's like a counting game, right? It's like if you have enough units to kill the enemies you have, then Galzus becomes superfluous. So it really depends on like how many different units you train. It's like the only chapter that rewards you for having more than one combat carry in that sense.
Yeah, it's like one of those test questions or like that game on whatever thing that you were streaming a while ago where you like match the wires, right? So
Oh,
it's like
keep
every staff
talking?
user you have, yeah, it's like every staff user you have, you match to a boss, and then whatever's left over, you match that to Galzus.
Yeah, basically. I mean, when I was doing my negative growth playthrough, from like chapter 22 onwards-ish, I started planning for the final chapter and then going backwards to see what I needed to do. And having Galzus there was a big help, but that was a special case. And I still memed on the final chapter really hard with the like scrub units I had. So I think in a growth playthrough, you should be pretty easily able to do it without Galzus. That is said, the reliability is really nice, because if you miss an endgame, it can be such a disaster. So having him, like, Lolo missed with Set in endgame against, like, a Dark Mage. Like, 99 hit.
Yeah.
So that can be really bad.
All right. Let's kind of speed round C tier a little bit.
Sure. They're not super big, but there's some that I think would be interesting. But yeah, I agree.
Yes. Okay. So, point 1 is Fred over Glade.
I'm so surprised you have a definitive opinion on it, because I really don't care which is which in these cases. Fred over Glade. Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah, and mostly because Fred has A-rank swords and Glade can use an iron sword.
Okay, so it's just about their indoor combat utility then.
Yeah, like you could use Fred for a lot more things than you can use Glade. Glade is just, here's leadership star.
Yes.
And if you're indoors, I can use an iron sword, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
And Fred has like another couple chapters of availability too, I think. So like a few reasons to kind of.
I think that's fair. I think I had them reversed because it's like, I don't really think either of them provides a whole lot. But granted, they provide some. But then Glade is better if you're not going to use either for combat because he's the leadership star. But I think your reasoning makes more sense.
Yeah, Fred has like really good weapon ranks, if I recall correctly. He's got like A-rank swords.
Sure.
Yeah.
I never used lances with him, but the A swords alone is worth.
Yeah, who cares about lances in Thracia? So
yeah. Maybe
that's
Glade.
Why Glade. That's why Glade is sad.
Okay, but like here's the Edward problem, right? If you don't use Glade, how are you beating chapter 13? Checkmate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. If you don't keep Fred alive, how are you doing chapter 11X? Haha, checkmate.
You let Olwen die with C's.
Fred's like, Lady Olwen, where are you? And then the chapter
because the leaves like, hey, where have you seen Olwen? It's like, I have no idea who you're talking about, bro. Actually, I think if you can probably block all the tiles you need to in chapter 13 without Glade. Just use the flunkies, and then you don't need to use them technically. If you like warp skip, kill the boss or something.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think I like this order. This is fine.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice. Next one, I think Shiva should drop, and I would even put him in D tier, but I'll leave that up to you to decide.
Yeah. It was probably with more of a casual idea in mind, where it's like, yeah, his combat is like pretty good, especially for a unit that joins at that point. But it's not much of a place to use it in, because you get a lot of other combat units that are still better, especially bulk-wise. I just felt like Shiva deserved C tier for his like, because he crits everything with the killing edge, and you get like 1 million of those in casual. I guess you only get 1. And then you can use the fire sword base because you B swords.
I was gonna say that like he kills everything, but that's only if you use the killing edge, because he needs to make use of his FCM.
Yeah, but he is like, it has 30 uses, so you're generally going to be able to kill anything you need to with him. So
and like, then if you don't have the kill, like if you don't have a crit weapon, then he actually just doesn't kill stuff, because he doesn't have his strength is kind of bad. It's like 6 at base, and I don't remember what his growth is. It's not like amazing or anything like that. It's like pretty average for its
it's like 35, 40, something like that, I think.
Yeah, but it's like if he doesn't get the crit, he doesn't have any skills that will greatly inflate his killing ability, right? It's not like Marita, who will just like proc Astra and then proc Luna and then proc Astra again and then crit like the 4 remaining hits or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Fun fact, he has 45 strength growth. He's only got a 35 speed growth, so he's actually got a better strength to speed growth. Yeah, he's kind of weird in that sense. I guess you could think, I kind of think of him as like a Fergus that joins later and doesn't have a mount option. But that doesn't really mean anything relative to tiering, because obviously Fergus is better. I'm okay with him in D tier. I don't really care too much.
Yeah, like maybe the top of D tier. Maybe above Halvan or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I think he's pretty close conceptually to where Havan is.
Yeah.
And I would definitely have to put him, like, even if you wanted him to be in C tier, I would put him below Macha because, in my opinion, Macha is, like, just Shiva maybe a little bit worse in the long term overall, but due to the availability situation, she's better.
I can see that. If Macha hits, because she joins with like D swords, right? But she's probably gonna hit C swords if you actually use her, and then they can both crit everything. Because Macha is like 3% critical, or FCM,
Yes.
whatever you call it.
Yes.
Probably. I mean, neither of them are gonna kill anything without killing edge. But then Shiva has the fire sword rank. Like, you did say that Shiva doesn't kill, but he can kill like, I don't know, archers at range or hunters at range with the fire sword at least, I guess. Or like armor knights at range.
Yeah, sure, I guess. I guess you could give him the brave sword that Fergus got.
Yeah.
Because he has beast swords at base, right?
Yeah, or even Kingmaker or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe I'm selling him a little bit short, but still, that's still like, you know, Halving could use a brave axe.
Yeah, but I
Right.
mean, we just named like a million swords, but there's only one brave axe. Like Halving can use a killer axe, but you don't get any killer axes. I know Halving can like the only guaranteed crit weapon for Halving is like the battle axe, which is cringe.
Yeah, true. Well, I'll leave it up to you to figure out like where you want Shiva to go exactly, but I'm still going to recommend that like wherever he goes, he should not be above like Macha and Brighton.
I think that's fair overall. Like even if you consider like his combat good, I don't really think the good combat is very valuable. And a lot of these other units have like not much training needed to become that good. I'm assuming that like Trude is going to move down too, for example.
Yes, yes.
And that kind of works out for me. Because like the whole value of like Ralph Fred, Glade is utility without training. Same for Galzus in a way, it's just a different time frame. Marita has the boss killing thing that I'm assuming might keep her here, or maybe move her down a little bit. And then these are more pre-promotes, flying utility, monster utility. Olwen is a special case.
Yes, yes.
So
yeah, let's move Trude down as well.
Yeah.
While we're talking about him.
Wait, who? Trude?
Trude.
Yeah.
Trude.
Yeah.
Who? What?
Yeah,
That guy.
I didn't intend to, but that's honestly a good reaction to Trude. Like half the people I talk to never look at this guy.
That NPC that's in the middle of the tier list right now.
Yeah, it's the Vice here. He has no FCM, I think, right? So he just doesn't crit anything, and then he has
It's something silly like that.
it's
Yeah, I mean
he's
like okay. You can maybe kind of like make him work, right? Because you can like get him to promo and promote him, and then he'll just kind of like do generic stuff. But I guess that comes at the opportunity cost of doing all of that.
I think Pala Emblem likes to argue Trude over Marita and maybe Shiva too. I don't remember.
Yeah,
exactly
it's
why.
I mean, I could buy him over Shiva just for like the short-term utility thing, right? In terms of Marita versus both of the other sword fighters, it's just, do you value the, you know, casual explosiveness of Marita at all? And if you don't, then she's trash. And if you do, then she's better than they are, but she's still not great.
Yeah, you can argue Marita up towards them just for the same reason you can argue Homer is B tier, because the exclusively boss killing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you can maybe justify moving Marita down to like below Xavier or at a, if you want to, I guess, but I still think she's in the right tier overall.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I'll probably keep her roughly where she is, because this is all like whatever you value more kind of stuff. This is like the gist of C and D tier generally, I think. But Trude, I do not like at all for this kind of tier list, because like he joins when warp skipping is like not right there, but around the corner. So combat utility is already at a, like all-time low value. I think Shiva's better personally.
Okay.
Because like what short-term utility is there even for him? Even if you give him 2 levels, make him Swordmaster. It's like, okay, you have a 7-move indoors unit, now what?
You could do like Ralph things. That's basically what Ralph does, right?
I think the whole point of
like
Ralph is
A-rank
like
swords.
with Ralph, it's like you get Master Axes. I think those are the clutch, whereas I think Trude is like 0 magic, so the Fire Sword is kind of cringe.
I don't think, does Ralph has the rank to use Master Axes?
Well,
at
not
base?
initially. He's like 10 XP away, so you just chuck 10 hand axes, and then he's there.
Oh, is Master Axe B?
Yeah, it's really weird. There's no A rank axes in this game.
Okay, that's kind of cool for Ralph, I guess.
Yeah, it was actually a big save in the end game to have 3 Master Axe users for me.
Yeah, okay, well then, so Trude is just Ralph, +1 move, -1 Master Axe, and minus a Knight Proof, and 2 levels of the XP. So that's, I don't know, that's enough of a difference to probably drop him a tier.
I think
right?
so. It's Shiva, I think it's Shiva down there, and Trude definitely is too.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I don't like. I think Olwen's like not C tier, but I've never used her, so I guess I can't really comment on it too much. But the rationale behind my thought is she's a really funny unit to use casually. But if you look at like all of the other filler combat units that are in C tier, I don't think she can actually do any of the things that you would expect them to do. Aside from like maybe bolting some stuff that Ilios does. But like my point is more that like, you know, Ralph can scrap. Fred can like block stuff and sort of scrap, and same thing with Glade. And Xavier can kill stuff indoors without really having a risk of dying. I don't know if Olwen can do any of that. Like I think she just like destroys something with Dire Thunder and then hopes she doesn't die somehow.
Well, it's pretty easy to not have Olwen die when she's Dire Thundering someone player phase, right? Because it has 1-2 range, so pretty hard.
Yes, but like you're just doing that, right? And the other utility that these guys offer, like the rest of C tier, like the first half of C tier offers, is they can just like stay somewhere and do something, and you don't have to worry about them all that much.
Yeah, they can fall up on player phase and then do something to the enemy phase. This is true.
Yeah,
with Olwen,
with Olwen's just like you do stuff on player phase, and then her enemy phase. Like I've seen a couple of people play casually with Olwen, and it just always seems like they have to like be really careful about where they place her.
Goes wrong, police called, death happened. Yeah, I used Olwen a fair bit before I had to kill Ralph to get Ilios, mostly for funny things. I purposely got her to bolting rank before chapter 14 in a very slow fashion, so I don't know if it's feasible to get her bolting rank before then. I think for casual players, it's helpful to be able to, like, you can magic up plus bolting a ballista to death, which I think is funny. But if you're an experienced player, you don't need that kind of utility. You have other means to do that if you need to. You can use Tina's Thief Staff if you have to, or you can just ignore the ballistas, stay out of range. So that's not very huge. And then after that, I never really used bolting or found a great purpose for it, so I could see her moving down. I was gonna argue, like, okay, there's some things that Olwen can do that they cannot do, like the bolting and Dire Thunder nuking, but as powerful as they would be in other games, I can't really think of like a great use case for these in the FE5. So I think I wouldn't be opposed to dropping Olwen.
Yeah, and even like Ralph and Ilios and Xavier can just master Axe, Master Sword something and wreck them, right? It's not like they need to use Dire Thunder. Although I guess Dire Thunder has some skill combos like with Vantage that you could use that they can't really use, but even then, I don't really know how true of a thing that is, because
I would never argue for Vantage strats, because getting Vantage alone is just such a huge slog.
Yeah, like you need to get that, and then you need to make sure that like Leaf with the Kingmaker is in range at all times, because Dire Thunder has like 70 hit.
Yeah, so you need like the plus 20 from Leaf and the Kingmaker, and then you hope she doesn't miss, because if the enemy's onto range, she can still miss probably.
Right.
So it's pretty cringe, yeah. And Vantage, to get that, you have to like find the boss in the dark in 12, and then live as high enough level to steal from him or capture him, which is a massive pain. Like, I'm never going to argue for Vantage in efficiency based tier list. So
you even captured him? I know he has like really high build. I don't know if he has 20
you need a mounted unit to get to him, so enjoy the forest, I guess.
Oh. Yeah.
I think he might have like literally 18 or 19 con. I've seen someone do it on stream. Many save states were used, I'll just say that much.
Yeah. You know, if you want a player phase nuke, I mean, Selfina with the Brave Bow.
Yeah.
Right? You can do that.
Where is she? D? Oh yeah, she's in D.
And she's like middle of D tier. But Olwen at least can like maybe enemy phase if you really want her to. So I think she's like maybe better than Selfina in that regard. But it's just like, you know, you got a unit who's solidly in D tier right now, and Olwen is like Selfina plus a few other things that are better.
Yeah, I can't really make a great case for Olwen. I'm fine. I drop it down to like around Selfina for now.
Yeah, I think you could probably put it a little bit higher, but we can discuss that later.
Yes.
But you know who I think should be C tier?
C tier.
Yeah, you know who I think should go up to C tier?
Up to C tier. We're not even done with the C tier yet. Are we moving people up now?
Oh, I'm kind of done with the C tier.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't have anything else to add with the C tier right now.
But like half the units here are left. I mean, you've been praising Macha for half this video.
Well, yeah, but she's still like trash in the grand scheme of things, right?
Got him. I mean,
maybe Macha is better than Brighton. Maybe Macha's better than Brighton, but like that's the only other That's the only change I would make there.
I mean, whenever Brighton misses, Macha's better. So probably.
Even you wait, Macha gives support to Brighton, right? So like, you know, whenever Brighton misses, it's Macha's fault.
Well, I pop my headphones down 1 second.
Yeah, I was saying I said something so funny that your headphones decided to
Yes,
combust.
they just quit. Definitely had nothing to do with my audio cable. Let me turn my lights on too while I'm saying BRB like things. Okay, so we were blaming Macha for all of Brighton's problems, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But can you guess whom I want to move up to C tier?
Can I guess who you want to move to C tier? I know it's not Ronan. I know you hate Ronan.
I don't hate Ronan. I mean, I appreciate him, but I definitely don't think he's good at all.
Based on what you've said so far, my guess is Dalsin.
Yes, you are exactly correct.
Okay.
We should move Dalsin below Brighton.
Dalsin below Brighton.
Because of the Brave X strats. Somewhere out there in the void, Chaz just creamed his pants.
Yeah, I know, right? Dalsin fan, very cool. A very strong swordsman, whatever it was. A lot of trust in Dalsin was had today.
Yes.
I mean, you can have more trust in Dalsin when he has the Brave Axe, which is like more accuracy than the Battle Axe, and it hits twice. That's pretty good.
It's really more trust in the Brave Axe than trust in Dalsin. Let's be honest here.
I mean, he needs a weapon to wield it. Or he needs a person to wield the weapon.
Exactly. But yeah, Brave Axe, I think like one-shots mages, so you have two chances to do that now instead of one. So that's helpful. But the optimal way is still to leave him behind in Chapter 5.
Yeah, it's funny. I think even your deployment, initial deployment in Chapter 6 is helped by leaving Dalsin behind.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like you should really use him all that much. If you really want to, I guess you could do that. But his current positioning is he benefits more from the whole like, efficiency LTC mindset placement paradigm than he does from the casual paradigm.
Just funny considering what kind of unit he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like people blame Dalsin for like, oh my god, there's so many hammers around that can kill him. Like, I never really found that a big deal, because if you're actually using Dalsin, you probably gave him the set scroll 20,000 times and he dodges with the sword equipped.
Well, I was going to joke that he doesn't see the hammers because he's in a prison cell for most of the game.
That's fair too. You probably wouldn't deploy him for those chapters either way. I think late game hammers are more for Xavier's benefit than for Dalsin. Because I had a lot of like times where I was like, oh, I can tank this, but then they have a hammer, so I can't do it with Xavier. Pretty crazy.
All right, let's go down to D tier and
yeah, these are good pre-promotes that can fight. There we go. That's the
figure out some of those scrubs down here. So I've got a few units that I think should move down, and definitely Tanya and Robert are my first two that like I think definitely need to move down, and then Ronan maybe could scrape by at the bottom of D tier. Like, maybe he's got a couple of things going for him that could escape being in E tier because of, like, the whole, movement sort of thing. Nothing to do with his combat whatsoever. But if you took that away, he's definitely an E tier unit.
Yeah, I agree. It's just the point of movement. If you plan it out, there's probably some things you can do with it. I think there's, like, a village visit in Chapter 10 you can do with him or something that lets him contribute, and that's, like, about it. I cannot think of anything super noteworthy about Robert. I think some real-time run and like some Japanese run used him for like hitting Kempf in Chapter 11, then making him escape, and he got a movement star, and he did something else. I don't remember what it was. And that...
I don't even know how he ended up in D tier. Like, I was going to say, when you had an F tier, like, how did you just not end up in F tier immediately?
I don't know. I guess mounted flunkies, which has like massive redundancy because you can do it with anyone. There's no other way I can think of it. I'll just
like right now you have him one tier above Kane and Alva, who are like, they have weapon ranks at least.
Well, he's unique, he shoots people through the wall or something. I don't know. You can train him. I think that might have been it. You can train him in Chapter 11, 11X through the wall by shooting at them. That was probably it.
Yeah, I was gonna joke that like this is a list that was largely free of travesties, but Robert was the only one. When you had an F tier, now it's like, okay, he's only one tier off, but.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I put him in E tier anyway.
Yeah, and I would scooch Ronan a bit further down. Your waifu.
Yes, my waifu. I think The thing with Ronan, I think Ronan just shows really well how you can make even the worst units good in casual play. Because I do it every time, even though he's obviously one of the worst units in the game combat-wise. But the Brave Bow can also fix a lot of things about you. Maybe that's the other thing with Robert, but like Robert has like E rank in bows, so it takes a long time for him to get to B. Whereas Ronan has like, I think he has either E plus 40 or something, or like D at base, so he can sometimes get there. It still took him a while to get there. But
you would know better than I do.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And this is like after a bunch of training too, like a bunch of favoritism. Yeah, I have no great argument for here. I know there's something you did with Ronan beyond like your first 4 chapters in your playthrough. I don't remember what it was.
I think it was 12x.
Yeah.
I had him help carry Safi to the end of the map.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how people do that chapter nowadays in the more advanced meta, but that was the go-to way to do it beforehand.
Yeah.
Where you skip it partially by warping Lara to talk to Pan so that all the enemies run away. And then Pan takes Tina's thief staff. And then you just like run through the entire chapter with someone carrying Safi.
Yeah. I always do a variation of that strat. Everything else is just a massive headache. So if I move indoors, it's fine, I guess. Okay. Any other earthquakes in D tier? I feel like
no, everything else is just like I don't really care that much. Maybe Misha could stand to be a little bit higher than where she is, because I know that flyer utility doesn't really exist after when she shows up, but her indoor combat with the wind sword is not terrible.
Yeah, I can believe that. Wind sword is also B rank, right? Just like fire sword and everything. So you can also use
I think
that.
she has an A rank in swords.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I believe so. That's fair. It's just there's not much availability there. So like Conomore-ish level, I guess. I personally don't really like Conomore personally. I was gonna like move him down a little bit.
Oh, I've never used Conomore before, but
yeah,
like Conomore to me has similar availability to Dermot, right?
Yeah, let's see, Conomore is end of 19 basically, and then Dermot is like, I guess the biggest difference is Conomore is around for 20, which is a free grind, I guess, but it is a lot of turns. But he exists for that Dermot doesn't.
Yeah, but he can't like block you sword or any fun stuff there. So
yeah,
I don't really know. I mean, it's D tier, it's E tier. I don't really care anymore.
That's completely fair. Let's see. So that's Olwen here. You said like Selfina could nuke people with Brave Bow. I guess she can nuke like mages. I think she doesn't one round some enemy types, like armor knights maybe. Which is like, I do remember that Lolo used Selfina. She had to get like 1 strength proc to 1 round dark mages in endgame, which is like pretty cool utility for a unit that's like this low. So I could see her a little bit higher, Selfina.
Yeah, maybe. And then you can argue that Callian should be a little bit higher than where he is if you want to please the casuals.
For sure. I was half expecting you to try to get Callian over here instead with the calves.
No, I don't think he's I don't think he's that bad. I mean, I definitely acknowledge that if you train him up, he has a lot more potential and also gets there a little bit faster than the other fast units. So I'll give him that amount of credit. But I do feel like, you know, people say that like, oh yeah, I used Callian, he was like amazing and it wasn't all that hard to use him. But like, I remember distinctly way long ago, I used him once and it took him longer to get to a point where he was good than I thought that it would take.
Yeah.
Like, I remember him being more disappointing for a longer period of time than I had expected for a unit that was really hyped up as like a, 9 out of 10 unit on GameFAQs tier lists.
Yeah. The thing I remember about Callian is like, yeah, he can crit a lot, but then I would try to use him in his initial chapter. He would like hit and crit an enemy. They'd still have like 40% of their HP left. And I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. I mean, there's that, but then there's also the fact that like, if you want him to use strong weapons, you got to build up his weapon rank first. If you want him to use 1-2 range, he doesn't get any crit from his weapon, so you need leaf support, and then he only has a 4 FCM, so it's not like he guarantees crits on the second hit anyway, if he even hits with like a javelin, right? So he's not a good 1-2 ranger for very long until he gets to like having 20s and all the stats and whatnot. And then once he gets there, then yeah, you have 20 crit. And then, anything that gives you an extra 5 crit, or like 6-7 crit if you account for enemy luck, then you're guaranteed to crit in your second hit. But like, that's after you've maxed out, and the path to getting there, he still underperforms quite a bit. Like, he can't use good weapons. If he wants to use stronger weapons, they're really heavy for him, and he has like really bad con to start out with.
Yeah.
So he gets weighed down to barely anything, and then he doesn't get access to really anything that would give him a innate crit. So you need to glue him to Leaf to get the support bonus, and even when you glue him to Leaf, he doesn't get a guaranteed crit setup for a long time.
Yeah, that's kind of cringe. I would generally, with someone like Karen, I'll settle for like a non 100% crit setup, but it sucks that he can't get one as easily as someone like Fergus can. I do feel like Selfina's better, so it's either like move Selfina up further to move Callion up, or keep him the way it is. I'm kind of leaning towards the latter, I think.
D tier, it's E tier. It's your call, man.
It is D tier.
It's your tier list.
It's my party. It's my boy Thracia, and it's my party. I mean, Hicks is here. He's like the last monster unit that we have, right? We never really brought him up, but it's just because he joins like last in monsters. So all he can do is like rescue someone to get to the end point, to get to the escape point, and that's it. I don't think
I've literally never used him before.
That's fair. I know he has B axes, so he can use literally anything, but the only one you'd ever need is the Brave Axe anyway, which is D rank, so I don't really care that much.
Yeah, I almost wonder if like he should also be an E tier, but I guess the fact that he can use a Brave Axe means that he shouldn't be an E tier.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really have a great reason to keep him below Carrion, I think. Because like if you compare Hicks and Carrion when they're both around, I think Hicks just runs circles around him for longest of times until Carrion's like really good.
Yeah, but Hicks doesn't really have that long-term potential. Like I really cannot ever imagine using Hicks in the long term. Like when I was a super casual, I remember training up like one of every primary weapon type Cavalier, right? And I used Brighton because I
you like disappointment.
Like,
I see how it is.
Yes. I was like, I needed a Lance Knight, so that was Finn. I needed a Sword Knight, so that was Fergus, and I needed the best Axe Knight in the game, and that was Brighton. And Hicks was just like, I'm Brighton but worse.
I think, if I recall, Brighton's stats are generally worse even after like a bit of training. But then
yes,
he has Wrath.
That's true. Yeah, so, Brighton has Wrath.
Yeah,
and maybe slightly better supports. I don't know.
I mean, he has Macha, whereas Hicks is Leaf. Hicks is Leaf support.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah,
never mind that.
I don't know. It's D tier. I'm putting him above Carrion. Try and stop me. You won't.
Ooh, I just heard a howl of rage from all the casuals in your comments. Leave a comment below if you're angry about Hicks being above Carrion.
I'm so angry. Okay, are we done with D tier?
Yeah, I'm basically done with the tier list. Like I don't really care about D tier.
I think I remember.
Like, I guess I would put Tanya like right below Marty, or like Tanya above Marty, but
yeah, I mean she is around a little bit, I guess.
But she gives supports to Dogdar and Orson like at the very beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm. There's one thing I remember that I want to bring up about these, because I think you're generally in agreement about these anyway. Like Marty is just a packing mule for the early game. I guess that's okay. That's good enough for top of E tier from me. The thing with, I think Shanam it was, I don't remember what the context was. I remember you bringing up, like, arguing in favor of Shanam to me. Where it's like, well, Shanam is 7 move indoors, and you can use the Kingmaker, so that's better than some other trash unit, I think. I think I was making a top 10 worst units in the series list. You were like, Shanam doesn't belong there. I think it was something like that. Do you remember that discussion?
Oh, yeah. I don't remember the discussion, but I know the argument that I made. Yeah, it's that he has basically generic Swordmaster bases, but he has C-rank swords, so he could still do stuff if you really wanted him to. But I haven't really tried to compare him to the enemies and see if he is worth using in that regard at all. So I don't know. I'm not going to bother that much for arguing him higher, because the problem is that you have so many other filler units when he exists that there's really no point to try to prove a point that he isn't actually complete trash.
I'm sure he can one-run KO Leinster soldiers that are level 1 with the Kingmaker. If you crit twice. Probably. But yeah, he's good. All these other guys are pretty bad. I did use like all these 3 Cavaliers at one point in the last run I did, the negative growth run, because Cav Flunkyism. And there's like some minor things they can do that other units cannot. Like other foot units cannot. Like I would deploy these over Shiva sometimes, but it kind of ends there. That's like the extent of their abilities, and they can be replaced by any other Cav. So that's why they're here. They don't really have any stats to speak of. Yeah, that's usually how these tier list discussions end. It starts with like Fireworks is like, yeah, Aspel's so good, and Tina's so good, and they can do this, and they can do that. Let's talk about the differences. And here's like, yeah, it's D&E tier. Whatever, bro. I don't care. They're fine.
So what happens when you enter the nether regions with students?
Yes, nether regions are never good. Anyway, looking at the whole, I don't know. I was pretty happy to start with, but now I'm really, really, really happy about where it ended up. Is there anything else that we missed?
I don't think so. Again, I'm sure that people will leave a lot of comments in the comment section to go over the things that I, as an elitist, non-casual, missed. But
Yes.
whether or not you leave a comment, make sure you like the video and subscribe.
Yeah, ever since that draft race video, you've become such a YouTuber, dondon. Jeez.
Should I offer suggestions for a clickbait video title?
Yes. Absolutely.
One that's better than exploring the nether regions of my team.
Dude, I love it when you explore my nether regions of my tier list. Anyway, with that ending, I say, until next time, goodbye.
Peace out, casuals.